This is ConvoCourses podcast. This is unscripted, straight out the top of my head. Probably an ill-advised way to do this, but this is how I do it. What is it like to do IT day-to-day? So cybersecurity day-to-day. So it really depends on your job. Cybersecurity is a very big field. It's a huge field. Like you have all these different categories of cybersecurity. You've got people who are in cryptography, mathematicians, people who are professional hackers, people who do pen testing, people who do assessments, cybersecurity assessments. You've got people to do information system security officer work, compliance, governance, people who actually are just firewall administrators. You got IPS administrators, IDS administrators, cybersecurity, and you get the idea. There's many different categories. So when you say cybersecurity, what's your daily life like? It really depends on what job you're doing, but I can tell you about a few of them that I've done in my career. I did network engineering for a while. I could tell you what that's like day to day. I could tell you information system security officer work. Man, I did that for a really long time. I could tell you what that's like. And I can tell you what a cybersecurity analyst does. So let's start with the one I know the best, which is information system security officer. What is that like to do every day? What's the daily life of that? For every single situation, it depends on the organization. You have large, medium, and small organizations. I've worked in all of those, and the amount of work that they get, it really depends on how much work they're getting at that time. Those are all factors that are going to affect your daily routine and how much workflow you have. The biggest things that affect your daily routine is going to be if they have processes that are in place. The best organizations are the ones who have very clearly defined processes, and they're able to figure out how much work goes to each person. Those are the best because they allow you to actually manage your time in the day. The worst ones are the ones who don't know what they don't have a clearly defined process, policy, or procedure, and it's just chaos. They're just kind of throwing things against the wall, see what sticks. It's the worst because they can have you doing work, you deliver something, and they're like, this isn't what we wanted, and that's very frustrating, psychologically frustrating. Anyway, you want to know what you do on a day-to-day basis for information system security officer work. So an information system security officer is going to be a person who is coordinating with a lot of different stakeholders. Stakeholders are people who have an interest in the information system security assets. The assets are the information systems, the important information that if you think of a bank. So in a bank, they have servers and they have all of their clients' data. The data is very essential to their business, and the system that data sits on is an asset because if that goes down, you don't have access to your data or the data is corrupt or whatever, right? So an information system security officer is working with the people who are directly interacting with that data, interacting with the customers, interacting with the larger organization. So they're talking to everyone from the C-level execs, but mostly they're talking to other technical people. They're talking to other policy people that's in the organization. So what are they talking about? They're talking about, okay, Windows had a bunch of patches on Tuesday. Where those implemented? They'll be talking to, say, the vulnerability management team. So you have a whole nother team or a person who does nothing but handles the vulnerability management. So information system security officer, one of their tasks is going to be to make sure that the security controls are still in place, effectively in place on a regular basis. Continuous monitoring is really the main job you do. That means all the time looking at the security controls and making sure that they're adequately in place. That includes making sure documentation is up to date. That includes making sure that if there was a recent scan, you're going to be looking through that scan and analyzing, okay, are our controls still in place? You may do things like that. And then if something's off, like you have a bunch of critical findings, you have a bunch of things that says, okay, Microsoft's out of date, Linux is out of date, Oracle's out of date, Adobe Photoshop's out of date, and you have this huge list. Now you have to see what is going on. So you'll be coordinating with a manager, will be like, hey, we just got this scan in. Could you take a look at it? And it's looking like it's really bad. Could you take another look at it? You'll take a look at it, right? That might take you a few hours. You're drinking in the morning, drinking your coffee in the morning while you're looking at this report. Now you have to figure out what's going on. So you can't arbitrarily just assume everything is bad. Like some of it might be a false positive. Some of it might have just been cleared. Is this old data? Is this stuff that we can fix? When can we fix it? You won't answer those things by yourself. So you have to coordinate with, say, the vulnerability management team. Maybe they gave you an old scan. Maybe the scan is accurate, but a bunch of these systems are about to be decommissioned. They're about to leave. Like, you have to figure that out. So the only way to figure that out is to work with the team. So a lot of your work is working directly with the team to figure out what's going on with the security controls. That's the main job you do. And then you're documenting what's going on. Like, let's say you meet up with the vulnerability management team. You guys have a 30-minute meeting, and they explain to you, yeah, that is the most recent scan, but we just moved to this new scanner. So here's the other scan data. We just moved to another scanner, and here's the results. And then maybe you guys go through the results together right on the call. 30 minutes later, you realize you don't have as many critical findings as you thought you did, but you do have a few, and now you have to coordinate with another group, the system administrators, because you got to figure out, okay, why haven't these configurations been applied? You meet with them and you go through the same thing. Like, okay, you're walking through, here's what I found. You show them what you found. Vulnerability management team says that according to the new scan data, this is not configured correctly, but they say that it's been patched, but it's not configured correctly. Can you take a look at this? And you guys look at it. So it's mostly, with the information security officer, it's mostly meeting with stakeholders, documenting findings of what's going on, and continuous monitoring. That's really your main job. A lot of your time is spent interpreting controls, making sure the controls are still remain effective in the environment. So this is a little different from what you might see for a cybersecurity